Hello and welcome to the Highway to the Zemus Zone Finals. We are in Game 3 of DekarSMASH versus Pankraz. My name is Rex Verwool. I'm joined at the booth by Possum Morpheus. Possum, tell me what you're expecting to see or what you're hoping to see with these two great runners tonight.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping to see some turn one forbidden fruit into maybe like a turn two free roll. Oh, my bad. Again, this is free enterprise. Wrong game. I always do this. Free enterprise, I am looking to see one heck of a matchup between DekarSMASH and xPankraz. These are two of the best to ever do it in free enterprise, not just now, not in the future, but ever. These are two incredible runners, and I am looking forward to a great race. We've seen a couple good ones. I want a great one here.
Yeah, that's what you're saying about these runners is no joke. Pankraz is definitely has all the credentials to be talked about among the all-time greats of free enterprise running, and DekarSMASH has really been proving himself throughout this event. And he's playing up against the hottest runner in competitive free enterprise right now in Pankraz, and is up 2 games to 0.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We have Pankraz, who is widely considered probably the most consistent, best overall runner. He won all 4 of his qualifier matches. He was undefeated heading into the finals. Has been absolutely running rampant over everybody. But he has run into DekarSMASH, who is equally on fire right now. I have fallen victim to Dekar multiple times on the ladder. Starting out, I had won somewhere around 12 of the first 15 matches against DekarSMASH. I've not beaten him since early September in about a half a dozen to maybe 8 or 10 different matches. Dekar has smashed me, and he has been smashing Pankraz and the rest of the field so far in this finals. So we have the two hottest runners going up against each other right now.
Yeah, I've been putting in the work, and it just shows that, especially ever since the advent of the ladder in free enterprise, just like the overall quality of racing, I think, has just gone up even more than it has been already.
Yeah, the ladder has brought some folks into the free enterprise limelight who never had it before. Folks like DekarSMASH, and some other folks in our competition coming out of the apparent woodwork, going to do damage with this young hero. They're going to be fighting Pale Dim. They're going to be attempting to defeat the Baron Basement Throne, and doing that with a Sid, and a starting Samurai Helm. That is not the dream right there, especially with a Sparkle, unless that's Wyvern.
Or Pale Dim. I mean, both of them, like, we're looking for Lunar Sparkles tonight. That is the name of the game. And of course, D-Mist always out there as a potential boss to find, hiding a free enterprise in Mist. What do you think about Yang as the hero in this flag set?
Yang is kind of weird because his natural agility growth puts him in a very bizarre spot. He doesn't get 28 agility, which is a good Zeromus breakpoint, until level 51 or 52, which means you may have to rely on some very obscure items, such as things like Charm Claws, to push him to 28 agility for good Zeromus breakpoints. He can be Cursed Ringed to put him down to like the 10 area, but it's interesting. You definitely have team HP, as chat is pointing out, with Yang starting at 300, Sid starting at 788, I believe. So there's going to be no shortage of hit points, but how are we going to hit things? That'll be the interesting part early on.
Yeah, Sid has a little bit better of a start and a better equipment draw that can be just gained from chest early. But Yang, you need to put in some legwork in order for him to be a useful character in the early part of Seeds. What he really needs is a grind in order to get to the point where he's going to be dealing damage. But yeah, the HP growth is not a problem with this. That Ogre Axe that we just saw on Pankraz's side, now that's a very good start for Sid.
Yeah, Ogre Axe, I mean, we have this debate of things like Team Gungnir Spear versus Team Poison Axe. And I know a lot of folks are on Team Ogre Axe opposed to either one of them. So as far as that's concerned, an Ogre Axe is a huge pickup. No real strength boosting gear, but also coming out with a Gaia Drum for our runners. both of which heading to Eblan Castle, which is another point of emphasis on this flag set. with it being T Pro for looting, you end up being put in this spot where you either loot, generally speaking, Eblin Castle or Watery Pass, and it just depends on where you want to go. So it looks like both of these runners are favoring Eblin Castle, and PFF4FE with that Ogre Axe says, I am good, I'm out of here. And it looks like Dekar agrees, both runners were going an entire tower because of that Ogre Axe.
Yeah, and heading right on over to Mount Hobbs, where there is a boss and a potential character as well. Of course, if it's a duplicate Sid, it wouldn't matter, but it isn't. We do get a Porum, so we have a White Mage and another Lunar Sparkle already. Is there going to be an objective? No, it's just the D-Lunars tonight.
Yeah, and I like the Gaia usage. This is going to just make short work of these D-Lunars. You could use things like Cure 2s, Cure 1s, and things like that. You could kick with the Yang if you wanted to save that Gaia Drum. But I think from PFF4FE, this is a, honestly, a do or die situation. You got to go fast. You're down 0-2, which is unfamiliar territory for the defending Free Enterprise champion from the Lally-Ho League.
Yeah, and we see DekarSMASH also cashing in that Gaia Drum on the D-Lunars. I mean, I think both of our runners wouldn't have much of an issue defeating them without it. But yeah, it's all about time, and they found that Gaia Drum, a very powerful item, and want to make the use of it now because it won't be too long before, especially Sid and other party members that we get will be able to do a lot of damage on their own, and it's better not to leave that on the table. And so I definitely get using the Gaia Drum right here.
Yeah, if it was something like Dark Imps, maybe you hold it because they're fairly easy. But the issue with the D-Lunars is they like to punch and then do fire damage, which is 20% static HP. And when your characters are folks like Sid and Yang, they have a lot of HP,
right?
And it can be hard to restore it. So the D-Lunars are particularly awful for this party because of that. Looks like Dekar is opting to loot a little more and picks up a Grimoire and a Cure 3 in the back of Antlion Cave. Pretty nice pickups there, while PFF4FE gets to do battle with an early Dark Elf.
Yeah, this Antlion looting spree here from DekarSMASH might be like feeling a little bit more comfortable at the 2-0, doesn't need to rush down to the boss right away. And if, picking up things like that Grimoire might end up saving time later versus PFF4FE, who knows he's going to be able to be this boss with his team, doesn't want to spend as much time opening chests because he's in a real hurry tonight.
Yeah, I think there has to be something though for the tortoise and the hare approach, and a package doesn't particularly change the calculus on this unless it's exactly edge. I think that really would move the needle. It can't be Fusoya because you can't get Fu unless he is your hero. But if it's an edge, that really does move things in PFF4FE's favor, having looted less. He picks up probably 15 seconds, maybe 20 seconds over Dekar. And with the finishes we have seen in this tournament, 15 and 20 seconds has decided many a race in this tournament. So that package character, I figure we will see a peak from PFF4FE right away on.
Yeah, I think also the fact of that, the timing of the finding of the package character in yesterday's race also was something that was that might have been a bit of a sore spot for PFF4FE as well.
Very true, very true. I am a little reluctant to bring up prior races in case folks haven't caught them yet.
That's why I'm not going into more details than that.
Yeah, definitely a point of emphasis for folks to pay attention to. Looks like PFF4FE has checked both the Waterfall boss and now the Mist Cave boss. I believe that was Leviathan and Dr. Lugay. So I think we'll see a package check here, while DekarSMASH opting to go the objective and key item checks, which is the Fabul route. We see a Rosa, who is the character behind the package today. Could be very good, but probably not worth the commitment right now. So I think I like that reset out.
I think the only way it would end up being worth it is if that boss ends up being something like one of our objectives or DMIS. But it's really hard to commit that time, especially when you've just found Porum and so you've already got a white mage. And I know that a lot of people consider Rosa to be the superior white mage. I'm one of them. But when you're runners of this caliber, any white mage is a white mage. and you could do great things with Porum. You don't need Rosa.
100% agree. And I mean, I am on record as being one of the biggest Porum haters in the world. However, Porum knows Berserk and Porum knows Blink, and eventually maybe learns Cure 4. And if she doesn't, fine, you have Cure 3s anyway. Uh, it's one of those situations where you just really don't care who your white mage is. You just want one. And sometimes that is even a Tellum instead of a Porum. It's very interesting. We see this Ice Claw for both runners doing work against this Ruby, though.
Yeah, that's one of the things that Yang can actually use really well in the early bosses. If you're able to find the elemental claws other than the Fire Claw, and fight bosses that have elemental weaknesses, it's huge. But you can also see the low attack power or magic power from Ruby as the glare single target Sid and is not able to knock him out. That is the leg. I think even Rubik might have skipped leg day.
Yeah, I mean, as long as that glare doesn't hit exactly Porum, you're pretty happy. Yang getting levels is nice, but your white mage getting levels is really important. How about that shop in Fabul? Cabins, ethers, and life potions. There can be an argument made for not having to shop again after that shop.
Yeah, I think other than like cure pots, that's probably the only other thing that you'd be somewhat interested in, and how much you need them when you've got Porum in your team is debatable as well.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I'm interested to see where our runners go from here. Looks like Dekar, faked us out. I thought he was going Ordeals, but he is going to head to Agar and go underground. Yeah. Looks like Pankraz will be joining him. They're about neck and neck here. The only difference is Pankraz has the knowledge of the Waterfall and the Mist Cave bosses.
And Dekar has a few more items, probably a little bit more cash available to him from the little bit of extra looting in Antlion Cave as well. But yeah, very similar starts, very similar routing decisions in this early part as well. Another thing about Porum that's one thing that's quite a bit different from Rosa is Porum will learn exit from leveling up where Rosa won't. So depending on where or when the Earth Crystal is found, that could be something that's a big factor in Porum's favor as well.
Yeah, it's definitely true because Porum learns Berserk at level 18 as opposed to level 20 for Rosa. And I believe Porum learns Exit at level 20 as opposed to whenever you complete Zod for Rosa. So it does give you, at least in the very early game, the superior white mage in Porum. And I know that's a weird thing to hear, but very early on, Porum is usually better than Rosa because of when she learns her spells. It's a very interesting kind of dichotomy that the white mages exist in.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, if you're relying on like bows and arrows and the aim command, Rosa becomes better. If you're talking about the spell list, early on, Porum is better, but later on, Rosa eclipses her as well. We've seen a little bit of divergence, a little bit of looting in the Fey March for Dekar, and Pankraz went straight to kind of the short loop of looting in Dwarf Castle while checking some shops as well. Dekar about to check this free key item in the Fey March, and we have the hook. So another character and a pretty another gated shop open for us now. What do you think, Possum, about a seed where you're given the magma key so early like this? When is it right to go to
Well, I think as far as like when you go to the hook and when you check the character and things like that, first of all, we had a plant manager for the job dwarf, so thank you, Pankraz. That Fey March is a giant nope. I do want to point out a couple of things though about this. Like I think the hook route you take as soon as you have exit, as far as checking a character, or if you just plan on resetting. But I think that probably means you do ordeals and you do things like that. We have Cat Claws and Fey March, which is interesting, particularly because one of the really heads up things, and we kind of discussed this very early on, is that Yang has kind of awkward agility. He doesn't get naturally to 28 until level 51 or 52, which usually you don't want to even grind that high. Pankraz picked up a Charm Claw from Dwarf Castle. Normally, picking up a Charm Claw is one of those things that you would chastise a runner for. However, if you're at 25 agility with Yang, which is mid 40s, you put that Charm Claw on him, he gets to 28, and your Zeromus fight is nearly perfect with relatively normal levels and not having to overgrind. I think things like that are what you're looking at. The precision from these runners, knowing exactly what they need to do with each hero, how to make their lives a little bit easier 90 minutes from now when we're 12 minutes into a seed. I think those are the things that are so great about this match.
Exactly, and it's like that Charm Claw is like that's kind of a heads up for a backup play because I think like ideally you'd find something like a ninja hat, which is kind of a more useful item overall that also gives that boost to the agility that you get from the Charm Claw without some of the drawbacks that come with the Charm Claw with its reduced accuracy.
Yeah, the Charm Claw is objectively considered the worst claw out there. However, in this exact situation, it has long term merit. And it's a very difficult thing to begin to fully understand and grip the importance of all of the agility shenanigans. But that is C Hero, and that is this flag set in a nutshell. We see Pankraz buying two of his favorite item in the game, which is the Cat Claw. If you're a fan of Pankraz, you know how much he loves his Cat Claws.
Yeah, and those are kind of like the default weapons for Yang if you want to increase his stats. And then you can kind of sub them out with elemental claws as needed. And the Charm Claw probably, if it's going to be used, will only be used at the zero of his fight, I'm guessing.
Yeah, unless there's some weird like Mac Giant grind or something like that.
Sure.
But we do see a Baron key coming from the Sheila 1 turn, and that is going to give Dekar some early access to a Sparkle check, which was our starting boss, as well as the Odin Throne, which is the basement, the Baron basement. So that is a potential freebie double for our runners.
There's also a character check there, and as you said earlier, Edge is someone that I think runners are going to be keeping an eye out for. Tella is also has a lot of implications. There's a lot of raw power possibility from a Cecil find. There's a lot of characters out there that can still do it. We haven't found a Black Mage yet either. And while not strictly necessary, there's a lot of times where you'd really like to have some spells that can do a mass amount of damage in one shot as well.
Well, I believe you had mentioned Yang possibly skipping leg day at some point earlier. He does learn kick, and that makes him a kick mage. It might have been Ruby skipping leg day. It was someone.
It was Ruby, but yeah, someone.
But someone skipped
because
leg day.
the glare comes with the power of the leg, that's for sure.
There you go. But it does look like our runners are converging, launching this hook. This does not surprise me. Again, to your point and to what we discussed earlier, you do kind of want to play with what the potential character on the hook route could be. If it's an Edge and you get him early, it's so important. He just expedites seeds in such a manner that no other character that's available does, outside of maybe a Palom with a bunch of early levels. But we don't have easy access to Siren kills, and we don't have a Palom.
And so it looks like Dekar not going to check the item shop. Without Rydia in the party, it's probably not all that important to go to the item shop, Evelyn, but wants to see what weapons and armor are available. I'm sure our runners have basically what I like to refer to as a shopping list of things that they want, depending on which characters are in their party, who's the hero, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, almost any shop, almost any character, maybe not Edge, but almost anyone else, you still want to try to find a cursed ring. So I think you check almost every early armor shop. It's just such a good item. And there's that Edge that we were talking about. That is the pedal to the metal on this seed right now. And it also opens up Siren sneaking. So our runners can really step on the accelerator here.
Yeah, it's probably a bit, well, I don't know how the runners exactly feel, but it is worth noting that that Rubicon spot. And so now that they know that's one free boss that's off the table for both them and their opponents.
Yeah, and more importantly, it's just not a sparkle.
Yeah.
It will be very interesting to see if either runner takes the dive to check the King Queen Evelyn spot. If anyone says, let me go look at this and see, is there a sparkle there? I would assume they won't do that. Now, we also just saw on Dekar's side, he loots one chest down here and finds a ninja sword just hanging out and a black belt. Lots of good strength boosting gear for this party. Quite nice pickups right away from getting that edge. Whereas Pankraz looks like he is leaving without looting, so he's going to be down a ninja sword, a black belt, and whatever else Dekar pulls from this little foray into the underworld, or the pseudo underworld that is the hook route.
And this kind of jives with how Pankraz has been playing the seed so far. We saw him avoid looting in the antline cave where Dekar was, and these items may end up paying off big time for Dekar. These are not like black belts and ninja swords are not kind of mid-tier items. These are what you look at to have for the end game for characters.
Yeah, well, I mean, we found a headband, a black belt, a ninja sword. I know that Edge comes with a black belt and a bandana, and that's great, but now you have an extra headband, you have an extra black belt, and you have a ninja sword. I know that you can't count on things like that appearing, but kudos to Dekar for taking the time to be a little more tortoise than hare here. That is a ton of strength boosting gear for Edge and for Yang, and even Sid if you want to go Sid and Odorak.
We see on Pankraz's side, he already has double long swords, so maybe not missing out on as much by missing that ninja sword. Ninja sword is better than a long sword, but double long swords is going to do a whole lot of work for Pankraz as well. So maybe knowing what he's got in his inventory and says, I don't need to do a whole lot of looting. I'm happy with what I've got right now.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point, that any runner at this stage of a tournament is going to understand exactly what their limitations are, both on the top end and the bottom end. So in this case, Pankraz probably figures, I have the gear I need to get through everything I need to get through early on.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he can't quite get through the Baron basement yet because of anchoring issues, but as far as any of the normal overworld checks like Mount Ordeals, like the Baron Inn, he's definitely going to be able to get through those.
Yeah, Edge in particular makes a lot of these fights in the overworld so much easier, whether it's with, as we're seeing against the CPU here, the Flame, just having access to a pretty powerful AoE attack is pretty nice at this stage of the game.
Yeah, so the interesting thing is we don't have a black mage, except we do. We also now have our friendly neighborhood D-Mist. That is huge on Dekar's side. If this pays out in some sort of nice key item, he's going to be up that key item temporarily, of course, until he goes and does ordeals, which he inevitably will. But that'll be a potential nice early boon. It could even be something like a Masamune or a Murasame as well, and just put that edge over the top.
You see another thing, a little part of Edge's versatility over on Pankraz's side versus these Maga Sisters. The Dark Command is a way to really... It does so many things. It does a decent amount of damage. It frees you an inventory spot, which is actually sometimes very relevant, and it can hit some places where you can't normally hit. It can do back row damage. It's a really versatile attack that, when you've got the capability of doing it, can really pay off.
Yeah, definitely. Dark is one of my favorite abilities in all of Free Enterprise. It penetrates perfect magic defense. It really doesn't care about anything but the user's stats. It's kind of like Kanatsu's wave in a sense, except you get to use it to your advantage instead of just getting blown up by it. So it's really nice for our runners to have access to that Dark Command, which functions off the power of the weapon multiplied by Edge's level, plus a very small modifier in there. So the stronger Edge gets, the stronger the darts get, and it's a beautiful command to have.
And I know that we've seen some runners earlier buying some things to dart. The price of ninja stars has gone down considerably, and so that's something that we've seen some runners in this event use to have a big stack of things to dart with edge.
Yeah, I mean, ninja stars are now appropriately priced, I would say, whereas
Yeah,
drain spears went up to what they should be if we're looking at things just from the perspective of exactly what they are, call a spade, if you will. Drain spears were way too good at 6,000 gold apiece for 88 attack power, the way that the dart function works. And ninja stars and shurikens were not good enough. So the rebalancing was fantastic, and it gives you a lot more in the way of options for that edge.
we saw DekarSMASH pick up a tiara and equip that on Porum. It's not going to do anything for her white magic ability, but it is a very strong defensive and magic defensive piece of gear for Porum. And Pancras has defeated the evil wall in the back attack. Now, if the runners had gone to Mount Ordeals really early, like if they didn't have that Magma Key or something like that, then that might have been a tough boss. That's not a trivial in that second spot on Mount Ordeals. But with Edge in the party, it's basically over before it starts.
Yeah, I think Ogarak Sid would get through that just fine. It would just take a lot longer.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm interested to see what happens here in this ordeals chamber. Although Yang does have two cat claws, he's going to be super speedy on Pankraz's side. There's a sparkle, and maybe we need that super speediness. We're getting double sparkle checks. We have a plague on Pankraz's side, and we have a hail dim. That is objective number 5 on Dekar's side. So objective for Dekar, and just a smashed up lunar eyeball on Pankraz's side to go with a heroin robe.
Yeah, now this is a nice find, of course, for Dekar, but it's not that like Pankraz is going to miss this. Pankraz knows that there was a sparkle in Baron and has the Baron key in his possession from Sheila 1. So I think he just wanted to do this Mount Ordeal climb before doing Baron is my read on what's going on, but we'll see uh, where he decides to go next, how he decides to route in and when. Um, Getting the two characters, I think I don't know what do you like the move from Pancras to do the ordeals before checking the characters in the Baron Inn and the Baron Castle, or do you prefer Dekar's way of doing it?
I do actually like Pankraz's routing here a little bit better. It doesn't mean it's going to be correct for this seed. We don't know
Sure.
what that outcome is going to be, but I like it better because I believe Porum got Berserk off of Mount Ordeals here for
There you go.
Pankraz, which means he's going to be able to Zerk up his edge, which will make that Pale Dim and also most likely make the rest of Baron in and also whatever is on the Baron throne considerably quicker. So I'm a big fan of getting Berserk. If you had a Palom, it would be getting Virus. Any of those level 18 to 19 power spells are things you really want to get for your White Mage or Black Mage.
Yeah, and that chunk of experience that you get from doing those fights on Mount Ordeals is a big part of getting to there, and we see that from Pancras. On the throne, we have just an officer and soldier fight, not a very difficult fight. Truly, this second fight in Baron is usually not very difficult, right?
Not usually very difficult, but at least for the Baron Inn, it can punch hard. For the Baron Throne, it has very high magic defense. For this party, magic defense is completely irrelevant because other than Edge, no one can do magic defense or magic attack. Excuse me.
And here we see that burst spell being used against the D-Mist. Being the power of this party means that, and the fact that the second fight in the Baron Inn is quite slow, kind of notoriously a slow fight. There's not any threat of it turning into mist and seeing the counters there. So berserk away when you've got Edge in your party like that.
Yeah, definitely. We see Pankraz picking up his Luca key. We have Dekar getting through the officer soldier fight. We have Pankraz, who has completed that ordeals check, only got a heroin robe. But it's going to be interesting to see where does Dekar go after this. Does he continue his fate of ordeals This is something I know that he has done before in both racing and on the ladder. That if you don't need to do ordeals because you don't have a Cecil, because you don't have a Tella, uh, there's a lot of merit to not doing that check, especially if you've already seen one of your bosses impaled him and you've seen
Right.
another one in Demas. So you're saying if Wyvern is up on ordeals, maybe it is. That is Baron being a triple required at minimum, having the Adamant Rock as well. So the Baron basement, Pale Dim, and the Adamant Rock, Baron having all of the value tonight.
Yeah, and Pankraz is going to get his hands on that value real soon. Dekar now heading down to the basement for the Odin throne. We'll see who's on that throne today. No K summon, so no key item from this. So I imagine a quick reset if this isn't a sparkle.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a check, but yeah, you don't take on an Asura there. Definitely not. You just go ahead and you move on, and it'll be interesting to see where Dekar goes from here now, knowing that he is basically like a Wyvern and a Darkness Crystal, or a Legend Sword and a Wyvern, or a Legend Sword and a Darkness Crystal away from Go mode at this point, I believe.
Yeah, there's a couple of possibilities. Yeah, it could be a Wyvern, a Legend Sword, and a Pass as well. So
Yeah.
there's a number of ways to do it at this point. Checking Rydia's mom in Mist, since the D-Mist has been found and defeated, yields that
Oh,
Darkness Crystal. That's one of those real important items. So yeah, another character. And of course, objective number 2, complete Cave Bahamut, can only be completed by having access to that Darkness Crystal. So yeah, we've got the moon open to us. We've got the Giant of Babel open to us, although with Edge in the party, I think it's less likely that either of our runners are going to be going into the Giants.
yeah, I mean, unless exactly Tella is here, I don't
Sure.
really see a reason why you would. You don't have good slingshot targets. Maybe you slingshot Porum and a Yang, I guess. Like, those would be
Hard
the
to
two people you'd want to slingshot, but even then, it's kind of like, eh.
hard to slingshot Young when he's the hero though,
That's
because
also a very good point.
even if he's that's one thing for noting if you're not familiar with it. Even if Yang is knocked out at the end of a fight, he will still gain experience with everybody else. So you can't keep his level artificially low like you can any other character. And
Yeah, it would.
it's not for me to say that you're unfamiliar, possibly, but just
No,
for anybody out there, it's good to know.
it would take some very unusual circumstances to slingshot a hero. That is
Yeah.
for darn sure. But it's very interesting because you do have, as Chad is pointing out, the power couple as it pertains to stealing and sneaking, which is Porum and Edge. Shout out to, I think it's the $2F stat. I believe that Porum reduces with the cry mechanic, which is supposed to be tied to the enemy's ability to flee, but it was repurposed when enemies fleeing was removed from the game, and then it got magically tied to Edge's sneak. Because Edge and Porum never appear in the vanilla game, it was never thought that it could ever be a thing. But now
I
it's a
gotta
thing because randomizers.
I gotta say, shout outs to you, Possum, for saying enemies fleeing isn't in the game right as the officer flees from the fight on Pankraz.
Well,
Different
okay.
kind of fleeing, but yeah, it's still just kind of a fun thing to see. We did see, I believe that was Dark Knight Cecil on the Lunar Deas.
Kane, actually.
Oh, it was Kane. Okay,
Yes.
these sprites are small. Like I can't even tell Paladin and Forum apart, but uh,
The
not
sprites are
until
just betraying your eyes, Rex. It's okay.
yeah, not until I can see the color of their cape at least. There also shout outs to capes. So many characters in this game wear capes.
That's true. Oh no. That is a Baigan at Value Cave. Let me tell y'all about bosses you don't want to see that have 174 attack power, which is the maximum that you can find in this game. Baigan, which punches not once, not twice, but 3 times that is a bad day on a stick right there.
Yeah, just about the worst, like, if not the worst, one of the worst bosses to see in Bahamut Cave. So, yeah, not a surprise that Dekar does not want any part of that right now. So returns to the blue planet and now is going to that ordeals check. So no fading of ordeals, and so that means that time that Pankraz had spent doing that isn't going to be completely lost. Now, Dekar is a bit higher level now, so might be able to get through it a little bit faster than Pankraz did. However, it's kind of mitigated by the fact that Pankraz had access to that Berserk spell throughout the Baron checks too. So 6 of one, half dozen the other. They're kind of washing out by both. They're routing it in slightly different order, but they're both still going to be taking the time.
There's an interesting thing that could happen on Dekar's side here, though, that is unlikely to have happened on Pankraz's. Dekar, knowing that he's just looking for Wyvern basically for go mode, might just be up here doing that. And as soon as he sees that there's no Wyvern on this mountain and he only gets a Heroine robe and doesn't get a key item, you might see Dekar reset out once he's in the Ordeals chamber room, which for Pankraz wasn't an option because he hadn't done Baron yet, so he wasn't on that same kind of hunt. It'll be very interesting to see if Dekar opts to go that route and decide to reset here from Ordeals and say, no, I'm good on this Heroine robe, and save about a minute's time between cutscenes and walking down the mountain.
That's a good point that I hadn't considered. So that's good. That'll be interesting to see. We also got to see, I believe that was a mute knife being used with Edge there doing 4 times damage against those Maga Sisters, very easily taken down. Pankraz has decided to go to Dwarf Castle and is fighting the always annoying Mom Bomb.
Yeah, this is a really icky fight. The Calbrena spot has surprisingly high attack and magic, and that is what this Mom Bomb is at. You really want to kill it before it can explode, because then you have to deal with 6 very aggressive punches if you don't have AoE or a sweeper of some sort. We see Yang just gets absolutely obliterated there. No, no signs of life for the poor monk right now. We see Edge going for about 1,000 a hit on average. Kane is helping. Yang is helping, but this is kind of the Edge and Prey show. And see what happens. It looks like we're going to get to phase 2. Porum probably lives this. Yang for sure dies if he doesn't get healed. Actually, no, Porum's dead without a heal here. So it'd be interesting to see what Pankraz opts to do with this.
Yeah, we said at the top of the broadcast that both Sid and Yang have very high HP growth, but very different regards, because Sid can equip a lot of heavy armor, giving him usually a lot higher defense. Yang, not really known for his physical defense. He can take, well, yeah, that was a bit rough, but Edge is still there. Edge is still berserked. So I think he's got what it takes to get through this at this point. So that's sad that Yang can't one-shot that Great Bomb, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least that bomb got put to sleep because of the cat claw, so there's that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kane is taking it pretty hard this fight. Yang does get through that one Great Bomb. All the red bombs are gone, so I mean, Pankraz could never wipe here, but boy, is this going to leave him in a rough spot for the next fight.
Yeah, and that next fight going to be a mystery, because we haven't gone through Tower of Zot yet, so we don't get that idea. And I think we see Dekar. He did actually have to take that fight because it was a Sparkle with Plague, and once you're already in it, I guess he figures might as well do it now. If a Tella or a Cecil shows up, at least he's got an option now.
Yeah, that's definitely true. He opts to use the Vampire, which is very heads up, making sure he pushes the requisite damage to get through that fight and not wipe. Meanwhile, we see another Porom on Pankraz's side to go with an Odin. Odin is going to be punchy here, but I think Pankraz should be okay. That's not the target you wanted, although Yang barely surviving with 21 health. So very fortunate there to stay alive with that front row Yang until he gets punched again.
We saw Pankraz utilize the power command after switching to the Thunderclaw. With the amount of HP that's there, do you think it might have been better to just go with a fight?
It's really tough to, because Yang just fighting is notorious for not doing the damage you expect him to. So
That's true.
powering makes his stats just so much more consistent, and you guarantee a one shot as long as he just gets the attack off. With the fighting command, that's tough.
So a little bit more consistency. I mean, if he hadn't been punched by Odin, that is.
Right, right. But it does look like Pankraz is through Dwarf Castle, our first runner through, while Dekar is going to be joining him shortly, at least in attempting this. I would imagine we'll get through also. There is a Sand Ruby. Do we have eyes on the Vanilla Rosa laying in bed character?
I don't think either of our runners went to Kaipo. They went to Mist, but didn't make the hike over the desert to the oasis there. Looks like it's going to be the tower is the next place for Pankraz, where Dekar is now in that Mom Bomb fight.
Yeah, and this again is not a fun fight. One of the interesting things, though, with Dekar and his setup is he has Kane in the middle, and Kane is going to, Edge in the middle, and Edge is going to be very fast. So Edge is also going to get an accuracy bonus, and he's going to be dealing a lot of damage as the primary DPS. So this is pretty heads up from Dekar to get that 25% accuracy bonus and deal bigger damage to Mom Bomb.
Okay,
Hello.
I believe we are joined by Antidale here. So Antidale, what do you have to say?
We are indeed joined by Antidale. Hello, everyone. I hate having to come in and say we're going to have some technical difficulties on Pankraz's side. He had an emulator crash that also wiped out his save files. We are waiting to hear back from Dekar to see whether or not we're going to get a reroll or restart or reschedule, or whether Dekar, by tournament rules, is perfectly able and willing to, or it's absolutely legal and his choice with no pressure in any direction, and whether he would just like to continue playing and take a win here. Pankraz has forfeited in the race room. We will see when we get a hold of Dekar what his choice is. And again, it is entirely 100% his choice whether to accept a reroll or a reschedule. But we'll continue with the seed, watching Dekar go through the seed while we try to get a hold of him. We reached out in a couple of instances, but a lot of people closed down pretty much any contact while they're racing, and Dekar could be one of them. So it might be a while, but hopefully we have a really good race here from Dekar, and we'll see what happens as the seed progresses. I will hand it back over to y'all and only drop in if we get any more information.
Thank you, Antidale. Appreciate the update.
Yeah, thank you very much, Antidale. We shall definitely see what becomes of this. For now, it looks like we are going to get Dekar versus Dekar, and we'll just get to cast a very fantastic run regardless. Hopefully, we get some additional games, but as Antidale had said, it is completely within Dekar's right to not accept a reroll or anything like that, and he would at that point be the tournament champion, as Pankraz has forfeited from this race in the race room per Antidale.
But we'll at least give you some commentary and thoughts as to what we're seeing from Dekar's screen right now, because we might as well, right? We've got something to show. You guys are all here to see some free enterprise. We have a fantastic runner playing a seed. So we'll just give you our thoughts and play-by-play as to what's going on from DekarSMASH here until we know more about the situation.
Yeah, definitely. Don't feel cheated by any means. DekarSMASH has won both Season 2 and Season 3, I believe, of the latter. So this is one of the best to do it, as we kind of referenced earlier, that, Dekar, he is extraordinarily good. So you want to kind of keep tabs on what he's doing. And this, if you don't get a race out of it, you at least are going to get to learn some stuff. Dekar is extremely good, extremely efficient, very good at this. We also see him picking up a Charm Claw He picked up a Gungnir Spear as well, so looks like Dekar is Team Gungnir Spear over Team Ogreaxe.
Yeah, I know that the Governor Spear gives you a bit of a boost to, I believe, the Vitality stat. Is that right?
That's a fantastic question. I just know it's a decent dart and has better attack than than an Ogre Axe, but less attack and more accuracy than a Poison Axe. So you know more about that there Gungnir Spear than I do.
Yeah, well, my boy Odin in Final Fantasy Legend 2 has killed me with the Governor Spear many times. So.
That is very fair.
So picking up some strength rings, we saw Pankraz pick up these strength rings. Basically, looks like Dekar is doing some of that shopping that we saw Pankraz do when he first went to the underground, whereas Dekar went right to the key item checks and everything like that, kind of bypassed some of the underground shopping, maybe waiting until he's picked up some more loot to sell so that he could afford some of this shopping that we're seeing now.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes sense. This is kind of what Dekar has done and made his MO. Is one of the things that you learn when you start out playing Free Enterprise is follow your objectives and follow your freebies. You know, do those two things. Dekar has really made a great situation out of following those two rules. And it really helps when you're super efficient on top of that. So you're able to kind of beeline and air quote God route seeds, but really you're just chasing what's given to you. So that doesn't surprise me at all to see Dekar do that. It's just very much how he plays the game.
And now making the journey into the sealed cave. Now, the sealed cave is a really interesting place in general in Free Enterprise. You get to see what the reward is before you fight the boss. And so in this case, though, we're going to check the reward and then check the boss, because either of those things could be important for Dekar. If it's a key item like the Twin Harp or the something that, or the rat tail, something where there'd be another key item behind it, you're kind of obligated to keep going at that point. Otherwise, if it's not anything important like that, you can check the boss, and if it's not Wyvern, you got a big opportunity to reset and not have to walk out of this place or fight the boss.
Yeah, it's roughly a minute and 10 seconds to make this walk down with a save included in there. So it's not the worst check at all. The only awkward thing is you have to then go through and chase whatever you get here. If it's anything
Right.
like
this.
The pan, for example, you have to chase it. You have to keep it. So now you're hoping that the pan pays out. Otherwise, you're looking at a Luca key into pan check, which both are fairly long, by the way. You have to look into that, and at least you get a air quotes free boss here. But I don't think you can deal the 18 to 20,000 damage before the 5 count goes off because of how fast this spot is. So you're going to have walls here. And then there's a secondary reason why this is super awkward. No one in this party knows warp. This is a big old walk of shame.
Yeah, this was, I think in Dekar's mind, this might have been I should check Sealed Cave. And now it's like, oh, now I've got to actually do Sealed Cave. It's kind of the second half of that.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing that can happen is you kind of get trapped. Maybe you outplay or overplay your own card or your own hand. I have no doubts that Dekar will take this pan and beat this Bahamut and get out of here just fine. But it's a kind of an awkward situation where now you're stuck having to chase, and you make that minute 10-second walk down, you make that minute 10-second walk up, you fight the boss. If it leads to nothing, you do not feel good afterwards.
And as you were correct, the Mega Duke does come out, but got one Star Veil out. The high magic at that point ensures the quad 9s enough to finish the job, and Sid stands alone. So yeah, going to be able to go and do the pan checks next. Because I imagine if you've committed the time to do the Sealed Cave check, you're going to commit to anything that follows after that, right?
Yes, you commit to the bit. As we like to say, you do exactly what you find. So if it's the pan, if it's the Twin Harp, it doesn't matter what it is. you're committing to kind of an off-cycle play where you'd normally want to do other things. You're committing to whatever comes from it as well. Those are just the way the rules work, if you will. You lose two-thirds of the time. You don't chase your gambles. You only win 1/3 of the time if you don't chase your gambles. So you almost always have to make that choice that if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do everything else that comes from it. But while Dekar is making this walk out, I do want to give some big shout outs to our behind the scenes folks. We have Niabari doing a fantastic job on the restream. We have Dijon Ketchup doing a great job of pushing and not eating the buttons. And we have my fantastic co-commentator Rex Raoul. If you've never seen the man play Free Enterprise or Storybook Brawl, you are missing out. An absolute legend at both. And make sure you give our runners a follow too. Dekar and Pankraz. Pankraz in particular streams a fair amount. You can have a wonderful bit of learning experience there. And Dekar being a ladder grinder, if you ever want to see some really high quality ladder matches, that's your guy to go to as well.
Yeah, I'll also give a shout out not only to my fabulous co-commentator, Possum Morpheus, today, but also the administrators who've been working on this, people like Annadale, who are quick to give us relevant information when it's needed as well. So appreciate that all around.
Yeah, definitely huge shout outs to the entire admin team for putting together a beautiful tournament. I'm a huge Sea Hero fan, so to me, this is bar none the best flag set there's ever been. I know that DekarSMASH won the Sea Hero ladder, so I know that he's a huge fan of it as well. It's one of those things where the flag set is just beautifully put together by the admins, and the tournament for me, I thought the mass qualifiers were super fun. I know they weren't everyone's cup of tea, but I loved the mass qualifiers down into a round of 64. So you still got a great shot at a best of 3 in a round of 64 for some folks who may not have ever made brackets before in tournaments. And I think that's really cool for more members of the community to be able to make it into the race scene.
And that pan ends up just yielding a spoon. So that's a little bit of a disappointment that it's not something that is leading to that, either the Legend Sword or the Wyvern, which are the things that we want in order to get this finished. So yeah, a little bit of an unfortunate ending to that, but it's still, even though it didn't work out of this situation, if you've committed to doing that sealed cave, you want to follow whatever path it leads. And now it looks like probably a little bit more shopping, heading back to Toria. Or has he been to Toria before? I don't actually remember if either of our runners have gone to this town.
I don't believe they have, because there's been no impetus to do so. Our runners have not had a Twin Harp, not had an Earth Crystal. Our runners have had zero reason to come here. There's no free item from Bedward on this flag set. So unless you're driven to Troya for some reason, there's not a ton of incentive to go there.
And I will say, of course, we're looking at Pankraz and DekarSMASH, two of the just best runners in Free Enterprise as we know it right now. But if you're, picking up this flag set earlier in your career and picking it up, there might be a good reason to go to a place like Toria just to do a little bit of shopping as well. There's 2 item shops in Toria, and so you can often find what you need if you're looking for your cure pots or something like that there.
Yeah, most definitely. You're always looking for efficient ways to do things. And the efficient play is, if you're looking to shop, you shop efficiently, and that is Troya. Troya has 4 shops total. Armor shop, weapon shop, item shop 1, item shop 2. No other shop has more than 3 things that you can go buy. No more than 3 shops at all. So you see Dekar go there, maybe do some last minute shopping. He's doing some siren sneaking now. We had mentioned this before, that the cry command, lowering the stat that deals with enemies running away, actually works with Edge's sneak command. So Edge is going to have a much higher rate of sneaking sirens here, which will then be used on, I would assume, yellow dragons to then gain all the levels that Dekar needs. Dekar also a fan of grinding early and grinding often. For those who have not watched the prior races, not going to spoil too much from them, you should definitely check them out. But you're looking at someone who very much so likes their grinds and is incredibly efficient at them. The cry sneak technique is one of those ways to really expedite getting your levels.
And that spoon did give Dekar the 10th key item in his inventory, so that means that the grind is going to yield double experience for that too, and so that's an important factor, and kind of like the silver lining on it. Might not have been like progression in the game, but it will make the grind go a lot faster. And if you want to get that done early, like it might be time to go to the moon, and when you're up there, you're going to want to deal with that Baigen and just get that out of the way, and you're going to need some levels before facing on that monster.
That's an interesting point of contention, because that Baigen is super unpleasant. And I would wonder, would you ever fade it until you know where Wyvern is, or until you know you have Forge? It's very awkward, because if you find Wyvern at the bottom of the moon, for example, you would end up in a situation where by fading Value Cave, you then have to walk back down and then, or excuse me, back up the lunar subterranean and then go take care of the walk to Zeromus. But if you take care of that Baigen first and you find Wyvern, you can go straight down to Zeromus. Legend Sword notwithstanding, of course, but not having a pass makes that a very interesting choice, because Baigen is just an icky boss.
And looks like Dekar, since he's in the tower, is going to make a save here to go to the top of the tower, and we might see a reset if this isn't anything important up at the top of the tower. But wants to make a save because definitely don't want to reset to before stealing those sirens.
Yeah, I mean, as far as resetting and such goes, you don't want to have taken the time to snuck all those sirens and then have to just reset. That is not what you would ever want to do. But as far as that is concerned, Dekar not going to grind first and then do this top of tower. So is going to take on this boss up here, which we see it is an Octomammoth. So not too bad, especially with a Thunderclaw. Maybe you go Ninja Sword Thunderclaw on edge and just beat the snot out of this Octomammoth.
Yeah, I think with even though this is pre-grind, I think this shouldn't be too scary. This has decent enough attack power, but it's not like a really threatening attack power thing. What this spot is really known for is a lot of hit points.
Yeah, I jokingly refer to this spot as a pile of hit points and a moderate amount of agility. It doesn't hit very hard. It has no magic to speak of at all.
No.
It just takes time.
Yeah, if you're comparing, like its relative spots, like the Calbrena spot, like the Calbrena spot is generally a lot scarier than the top tower spot. Even though this place is, like in the vanilla game, you go to this after you go to that Calbrena spot, but it's like some of the ways that the Free Enterprise randomizer works things with these multiple phase bosses. Things get a little bit weird with both of them being kind of multiple phase bosses.
Yeah, the interesting thing about that is the Calbrena spot ends up hitting super hard because you have 6 tiny minions. So it's lowered for those minions so they don't just absolutely clobber you. But when they're all kind of put together into one, it gets really scary. Whereas at the top here, this spot just doesn't do anything but combine all of Lugay's forms. And yeah, it's a pile of HP. And that Mom Bomb at Dwarf Castle 1 is way scarier than an Octomammoth here. Just a Gungnir Spear for Dekar, though. And 52,000 experience. I suppose we shouldn't just discount that. That's a lot of XP.
Yeah, it looks like that XP is enough for Dekar to say, I think I'll just walk out of this instead of resetting. It might be one fewer egg that he has to fight during the grind.
Yeah, although, and one of the things that we don't know, and it's completely within Dekar's right to do this, he may already know, in Pankraz's situation with what's going on, and he might just be wanting to put on as much of a show as he can for the fans out there, so they can see some free enterprise instead of just having to worry about 30 minutes of a race, the whole thing basically exploding, if you will. So he may just be doing these checks and not resetting. We just have no idea what on Dekar's side is going on, if he's even seen the result or not. So it's tough to tell. I think it's interesting because personally, I would have reset out of that for a Gungnir Spear.
Yeah.
The XP is, to me, largely irrelevant unless you don't believe you can get through the eggs efficiently without it. So it'll be interesting to ask about that as far as what Dekar's mindset is with regards to that top of tower check.
And now we are going to be in the scrambling eggs portion of the stream as the grind has begun. We see that dart come out for the first egg, and that might be something that you just mentioned. Getting through these eggs as quickly as possible is something that's kind of an art form, because until you get to the point where you can reliably just like hold A and have your first attacker be able to take them out reliably, how you get through them is going to be interesting.
Yeah, this is 100% dart and then berserk, because you do not get through this at all with just one hit. So maybe a Zerk Edge can high roll a kill, and does right there, gets through by 96 health. The eggs have exactly 1800. So gets through that egg with a berserk, and I think that's kind of going to be Dekar's life for the next 3 minutes or so, where he is going to just have to berserk that edge, because he's not going to get there just by holding A.
And this is one of the positioning of the characters is also important too. With Edge in the middle and having Porum being on top, so that Porum is going to be faster to act while still leaving the accuracy bonus that you have for Edge being in the middle position. So this is all the other three characters are pretty much irrelevant in this fight, but getting them to the point where you can cast Berserk on Edge as quickly as possible is what's important, until we get enough levels that Edge can one-shot them. But I don't know, with the gear that he's got, how long that would actually take.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, with Berserk, it makes it a lot easier, but if you're just talking about holding A, oh man, I mean, you're probably looking at the mid-40s before Edge can do anything. As far as just one-tapping the eggs. So I think the Berserk call is absolutely the correct one here. Maybe you jump with Kane if you can stack enough health on him, or excuse me, enough attack on him. But that also takes time. What's more efficient, berserking Edge or jumping with Kane? It's probably close either way.
Yeah, probably pretty similar. Both are going to take a little bit of time. Both would be faster. Both of those options are faster than what I've often defaulted to is attacking with Edge, letting the egg hatch, and then attacking with Kane.
Yeah, I often find myself in that situation because I'm terrible at organizing my party properly. So I am right there with you. I've seen more than my fair share of hatches in my day, and berserked eggs, but I don't think we're going to see that today.
Using a power staff to attack the egg, something like that? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, if you have like a white mage in the middle slot, which is slot 1, and you get a strike first, and you're not thinking about it because you want, let's say, your edge in slot 2 to attack, and you're holding A, and you bonk an egg, and it goes berserk, and then it hits you really hard, and you get sad, that's a thing that can happen. We do see Dekar here going up and sneaking. This is a play for Silk Webs. He wants to get his party set up for any of the hard bosses. So he's looking to get Moon ready. He's looking to get Zeromus ready as far as these Silk Webs are concerned. Looks like he just wants the one. But yeah, looks like that is going to be it. He's going to save on the other 3 Sirens he has. I think Dekar might be ready to make his move, maybe to that Baigen, and then go tackle the Moon, or maybe Baron Basement, then Baigen, then the rest of the Moon. but not before landing in everybody's favorite spot. We're going to push a button, and we're going to take a drink of water in Dekar's honor for landing in the mystery spot, trying to get above ground.
Yes, it looks like it is right back to Baron first, and you see a cabin being used for a heal here, and yeah, this being basement bound, I guess we saw Pankraz tech and see that it was Ashura. Probably going. Looks like he does want to defeat Ashura at this time because he is equipping that mute dagger.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. Asura is very weak, or not very weak, but just normally weak to mage mashing gear, and Edge, with any decent weaponry, as long as one of them's a mute knife, is going to push at these levels probably 6,500 to about 8K on the Asura, and it might even be more than that if he's got really good strength gear.
So, kind of walk this one through us. What is the reason, the logic for going here? If you know it's not going to give you a key item, what's the logic behind going and fighting this Ashura right now?
So the logic right now to do this is you're going to go to Baron Basement and clear your Earth check. You're going to go to Cave Bahamut and clear your Moon check, and then you are going to head on through and go to the Moon, searching out the Wyvern. That is your reason for going here to the Baron Basement.
But if you know that this is Ashura and it's not giving you a key item, what are you clearing out here?
You're clearing out an objective.
Oh, haha, objective 4. I should read objectives at some point. That's something that could really help, my understanding of what's going on in the game if I know what the goals are in the game.
See, I thought there was some sort of like next level 5-head galaxy brain thing going on here, and I was way out of the loop. You got me there, Rex. You got me.
No, I thought you had some galaxy brain plan to let me know on, but it's no, just do what you're supposed to do. Just do it.
Yeah, that's Dekar's kind of MO, is that he just does the objectives.
Yeah, you did mention that before, that do the objectives, do the freebies, that's the DekarSMASH way, and
Yes.
do it like with ruthless efficiency too.
Yes. It's like a combination in a sense of like Invenerable and Dia, where you have Invens follow the objectives, follow the freebies, and you have Dia's ruthless efficiency, to harken back to some runners who did not actively really participate in this tournament, but mainstays in the free enterprise community. Dekar is a beautiful blend of some of those other runners who weren't in this tournament.
And now it is moonward bound as Dekar has entered the big whale. And we'll see if it's the lunar subterranean or wants to fight that nasty Baigan in Cave Bahamut first.
Yeah, I think we are going to see that Cave Bahamut first. It just makes sense because if you run across the Wyvern, you can just head straight down to Zeromus at that point. If you run across the Forge, I mean, whatever, you're still going to have to run back anyway. So there's no reason not to, and this was kind of to your point earlier. And we also see Dekar turning the battle speed down to 4. For a runner of this caliber, that is called respect right there. Because a lot of runners don't like leaving battle speed 1. And here we go, Dekar going down not to battle speed 2 or 3, but all the way to 4 to get his early setup for this, trying to get some Zerks and maybe some Blinks off, maybe some darts even with Edge. Really respecting this Baigan, and I think that's very smart to do.
Yeah, this might be the opportunity to cash in that that spoon as a dart, because you want to face Baigan for as little time as possible.
Yeah, there's 37,000 health at this spot. I think the arms split about 32 to 3,500 apiece. You're still going to deal 30,000 damage to the body. The spoon takes out 1/3 of that right away. I love the image here. Edge self-blinking really helps with the sustainability for this fight. So Dekar off to a great start in this fight, getting a couple actions off. Hitting
Edge
Sid is great.
Yeah, Edge is such a versatile character, has so many uses at so many different parts of the game. There's a reason that in certain flag sets he's only found in gated character checks. He's so useful.
Yeah, and the nice part was both runners found that edge fairly quickly. Now, this is a little interesting. We see edge getting zerked up here from Dekar before darting the spoon, so there will be no spoon dart to the body. So that is going to be an entire 30,000 health on that Baigen body that he's going to have to go through, and hope Edge doesn't decide he wants to arm grind today.
Tonight there shall be no spoon. Well, we might see it in another fight, but not in this fight, at least.
Yeah, might be saying, I would like to save this in case of a Wyvern. And if it's not going to be a Wyvern, maybe I'll save it for Zeromus. And if I take it to the grave with me, or take it to, Valhalla with me, either way, sometimes you just treat it kind of like an elixir. And we've all had those games where we take all of our elixirs to the end without ever using them.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of people who have grown up on RPGs who are notorious item hoarders. Yeah, I was definitely one of them. I would buy so many stacks of items just to never use them. I would never use magic points either. Like, had to conserve anything just in case I need it, and then have just this wall full of inventory at the end of a game. And as I've grown older, I've actually been able to mitigate that, and I actually use the things that I find in games now. And believe it or not, for me, the games are more fun that way.
Yeah, I mean, there's some sort of nice element there to not having those super OP items, and there's a little bit of risk. It's like, oh, I could really have used this now. But speaking of mitigating risk, there is the body down for Dekar. There could be some big explodes coming here from the arms, but looks like the arm decides it is entangle time. The explodes will deal damage equal to the amount of health remaining on the arms, but I believe there's not much left on this right arm. Not going to kill Kane, only 300 damage. Everyone survives that fight. Very well executed by DekarSMASH.
Yeah, that was a real heads-up play by adjusting that battle speed, giving time to set up the blinks on the real important ones, Edge and Porum, to make sure that they were able to follow up with doing the berserking afterwards, and Edge being the recipient of the berserk spell. The other characters did their part too, but those two were the real kingmakers in that fight, enabling a real clean Baigen fight in a very difficult spot.
Yeah, and that's kind of the beauty of any white mage in a storm, is that we know there's a Rosa at the package. Neither runner paid any mind to her because Porum does exactly what you need, which is casting 2, maybe 3 spells, which is Berserk, Blink, and Cure 4. So you don't really need to worry too much when your party has kind of the levels and the health that these runners have. Worst case scenario, Sid or Yang can very easily become your de facto chemist if Porum goes down to a rogue Big Bang or some other sort of unfortunate event.
And now it is into the lunar subterrane. Now, I saw that instead of healing up at the big whale or using a cabin, Dekar just used tier 3s. I don't know if he's got any more cabins in the inventory. I know at one point there was one, but I don't know if he had several stacks, because inventory management is a little weird in this game. I don't know if he's planning on anything that's not Legend Sword or Wyvern to just reset and then go to the next check. But that's really all that matters right now, right? Ooh, that's all Gauntlet.
Yep. I don't know about a lot of things in this game or about how Dekar is going to approach this, but I do know that an Alt Gauntlet is 1000% going to be his last location. That is not getting touched. So from Dekar's perspective, he's going to go chase literally anything else before he touches that Alt Gauntlet. And to just update everyone in chat, Pankraz did have an emulator crash, so he did have to forfeit the race, as that emulator crash did wipe out his save files. This was about 30 to 35 minutes into the race. Dekar does have to finish the race regardless if he were to want to win. So he may be doing that. It is completely up to DekarSMASH whether he wants to reroll or accept the win. Uh, those are the rules, and it would be completely valid. And if Dekar chooses to take the win here, he would be our champion. So we are waiting to see a response from Dekar, and as soon as we know anything from the admin team, y'all will know it from us here in the comms booth.
Now, as far as that alt gauntlet goes, we can dream of situations where that alt gauntlet holds maybe the earth crystal behind it, and then the boss in the second boss in the Tower of Zot is the wyvern, and the key item is the legend sword, and that would be the sort of situation where you'd see that. But it's unlikely. We're probably not seeing the alt gauntlet on the moon be fought today.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best situation would be like Wyvern at CPU and Alt Gauntlet having Legend Sword. Those would be fun because then you have, well, this is also fun. There's a 42,000 HP Ogopogo. If you thought the normal 35,000 HP Ogopogo was bad, here, let's add 7,000 more health and tell you to have an even better day. You won't have a better day. This fight stinks.
The moon is not playing around tonight. We got Bigan in the Value Cave. We've got the Alt Gauntlet in the Pale Dim spot, and now Ogopogo shifting over a spot from one spot to another. But yeah, this is not a fun fight right now. This is a slog with a lot of percentage-based attacks coming at you.
Yeah, the one good thing for Dekar here is that Ogopogo colloquially is, as I say, weak to Berserk. Now, it doesn't mean you can cast Berserk on Ogopogo. First of all, that would be terrifying and not particularly smart to do, because Ogo hits pretty hard in most places. But Ogopogo counters a lot of magic, counters summons, and things like that. So you really just want to have characters running around that can punch Ogopogo. And Ogopogo, as a result, is kind of just weak to Berserk. You clog the Q, you hit it real hard, it can't hit you hard enough, and the fight eventually ends. And that is exactly what Dekar is doing here, is just going to town on this Ogopogo. I think he did single target a Cure 3 on Yang there, though, and this is going to be a little awkward because now the rest of his party is vulnerable, and this just kind of highlights how difficult Ogopogo can be.
I think it's one of the interesting things. This is something that the Final Fantasy series kind of does in general, but this is kind of when they were really starting to experiment with it, is like these bosses on the moon all kind of test different things. They have different ways of like dishing out damage and different things, different strategies that you need to use in order to be successful at defeating them. And like, for example, the difference between the D-Lunars, which are normally in this spot, and Ogopogo are really vastly different. And I think that's something that Final Fantasy gets a little better on, because like things like Pale Dim are like whatever. But ooh, there's a couple of things that you could check, but I think you want to check the bosses first.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against face checking the rest of the bosses up here and then chasing the Twin Harp and the Earth Crystal. Yeah. They're both right next to each other, so it's a little awkward in that it sends you back to the Earth. But proximity-wise, that's also 3 more boss checks and 2 more key item checks. I think you poke around for Wyvern here, and if you don't find it, I think you bail and you chase those 2. Well, or you fight the Water Hag because it's a Water Hag and it takes 3 hits, it falls over and gives you another key item check.
Okay, some parts of the moon are no joke. Other parts are the Water Hag.
I mean, we're just happy that this is widely regarded as the easiest spot on the moon and the freest bosses here. So
that's true.
I'm happy that Water Hag's here and not where Ogopogo was. Those switched would be a little bit lackluster. We still got some excitement out of that Ogopogo fight.
And as you said, after 3 hits, the Water Hag goes down, and we will see if this is either the Legend Sword or maybe the Tower Key or the Rat Tail are the other ones. Oh, the pass. You might want to not reset out of the pass either.
Yeah, you definitely keep the pass. Even if you find like Wyvern at the Masamune altar, there's still always that chance that you want to just exit out. If you're not 100% confident in your ability to take down Z, and I bring this up in particular, not at all as a knock on Dekar, because there was an absolutely brutal match for Zeromus between Dekar and Solaris in the semifinals, where they both went toe to toe with the rudest of Zeromuses, and it was a very difficult situation for both runners. It's one of those situations where you may just take that pass, even if you were to have found Wyvern here, find Legend Sword. You go back, you save outside of Troya, you do what you need to do, and then you go fight Zeromus because you don't want to risk the loss.
And really, exiting out of the lunar subterrane and taking the big whale back is oftentimes not that much longer than just keeping going down from the lunar subterrane down to the lunar core, because it's a lot of floors that you have to walk and zigzag down a lot. So it's not a big time loss. I think from this point it's going to be a time loss, but it's not that much.
Yeah, it's a time loss, but it also gives you a little bit of time to think and prep.
Yes.
And it can oftentimes be the difference between a wipe or not a wipe. And if you can save yourself from wiping, you also don't have to do the extra boss check a second time, which in this case would be Mylon Z, and you don't have to do the Zeromus fight a second time. So definitely the ability for Dekar here to do whatever he wants. And he has a tower key. I would be awfully tempted to chase the Twin Harp, the Earth Crystal, and the tower key here, even before checking the Crystal Sword altar. It'll be interesting to see what Dekar does, but that's a lot of key item checks on Earth now.
Well, it's not an instant exit, so Dekar is either going to make a save here and then reset out. Nope, walking past the save room, so it looks like we are Crystal Sword altar bound. Because I think there's an argument for making a save right there, exiting out, do those checks as you mentioned, and if they don't, then you can reset back to this point and go right onto the Crystal Sword altar after.
Yeah, that's definitely true. There is also the counter argument to that of, well, this could be Vanilla Wyvern. It could also be the Legend Sword. It could be both. So you just never know. It's part of Rando Gonna Rando, and we shall see how it turns out for Dekar, as we're going to get one of two things here: either a save and a trip down to the Earth, or we're going to get a clear of this spot. It'll be interesting to see what we get after that long poison walk up these stairs. I guess that's as close to poison stairs as we're ever going to get in Free Enterprise. But that is DekarSMASH heading into that Crystal Sword altar. This is a mean Dark Knight Cecil. This spot has like 150 attack power. This is pretty icky, but thankfully a lot of these characters have a lot of health.
Yeah, this is the you've got Sid and Yang. We've had them from the beginning, and they are some beefy boys. Even Kane able to survive. Throw in the life pot to get a little bit of and more experience on Forum. Any levels that you can get are just good, because her HP growth is not good. She's already learned White, and she's only at 1780 HP. So, yeah, she could always use a little help.
Yeah, I mean, Porum has some HP, but that's it. Just some.
Yeah, it's more than one.
And that is more than an Hourglass one. That's an Hourglass 2, which is useless.
It is the sequel to the first Hourglass, which I think was the superior one, but some critics don't agree with me.
I've always been a big fan of Hourglass 4. Yeah, it's a really good one. The Hourglass 4 is when you use an Hourglass on a crocodile that is mid-attack, and it basically soft-lops your game. Don't do it.
Like one of those where it's the double, like 2 attacks in one sort of thing? Yeah. Okay. So really weird mechanic that they use in this game. So.
Isn't everything, though? That's why we love Free Enterprise.
There's so much weirdness to love in this game.
We do have a Dekar, though, heading back to Earth. Where does he go from here? Looks like we are getting a tower key check, I would assume. And he left a save up next to Mysidia. This is a ever so slightly quicker way of getting back to the overworld when you initially get this item from the super cannon being destroyed. So it saves probably 1.5 to 2 seconds. It's a very small time save, but you know, 1.5 to 2 second time saves, if you have 10 to 12, maybe 20 of them in a run, that's an extra half a minute to a minute. And again, those are the differences that get these runners, folks like Dekar, folks like Pankraz, into the finals.
It's like all of these checks that have been opened up are all with, oh, that's a sparkle. Oh, do we have it? Yes, it's the wyvern.
It had to be the wyvern. We've seen all the other ones.
Yeah, well, I don't have my spreadsheet open of what bosses I've seen, so it's hard for me to remember things from, 60 minutes ago.
Yeah, but that is go mode for DekarSMASH. What would be funny here, and chat is kind of calling this, that they would like to see a legend sword. Now that wyvern has been punched in the face, looks like the only music we will get was the poison walk. Maybe some music after the seed. We shall see. Maybe we can put in a special request to one DekarSMASH for that afterwards. Or a spoiler in the Free Enterprise Discord, one way or the other. I think we'll be able to hopefully facilitate that request. But that is objective 1. That is the crystal for Dekar. The only question remains now, is Dekar going to grind more? Or is Dekar going to go straight to the big bad final boss? I would guess the latter. What would you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think, I think if it wasn't somebody who was a super elite player like the runners that we have today, you might want to grind to get more hit points on Forum just to be a little bit safe. But we've got about 1,800 and change HP on her, maybe more than that. I haven't seen the most recent amount. I think you're good. Like your berserk game is pretty strong right now. And it's not the legend sword; it's just the pigtail. So I have to imagine it's going straight to Zemus at this point.
Yeah, there's some potential argument for turning in that pigtail as well. Maybe you try to hit a Masamune, a Dragoon Spear, something like that. But I think on average, you probably don't find too much that's good. You see Dekar checking Yong's agility there. Sees 29, which is a beautiful number. Zeromus, you want it 28, 42, or somewhere really low. But okay, there we go. Chat is on it. We see some flags. And Rex, potentially for the last time in this tournament, I would like for no one other than yourself to ask a very important question.
That question regarding the appearance of Zemus, because we don't randomize anything about this boss other than how it looks. So we need to ask the question, whose butt are we going to kick tonight?
And is it cute? And does it have a butt?
These are all questions the scholars of the free enterprise community will ponder for months and years to come. Because it is butt time.
Everybody likes butter clock. It's one of the best hours of the day. But let us see.
I think this is a pretty strong team for Zemus. It would be nice if there was any instances of back wine that were found or stolen throughout the course of the feed, but even with that, even though you only have one person who can actually cast Berserk, I think this team looks very strong.
Agreed, and I love zerking Yang there first in order to go ahead and get the Zerks going. Looks like we have some ever so slight technical difficulties. Looks like the Z fight probably is underway, but might not be. So anyway, we know that Yang was getting berserked. I assume the reason Yang was getting berserked instead of the reason that Edge was getting berserked was so he could dart that spoon. But there we go. It's a survey muss.
Okay, good. I'm glad that we didn't miss out on this.
Okay, well, we almost nailed this by accident.
Yeah,
Rex. We missed
did.
how.
This is a great great addition to the litany of possible strikes for Zemus. So, Survey Must now enters into the game.
Yeah, I do have a fond liking of so many of what I consider the meme butts, and this falls strongly into the meme butt category. It doesn't have a butt. I think it's adorable, personally. How is it? It's the best it could be. Whose butt are we going to kick? I guess Survey Must. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Okay, now it's time for Rex to be a little bit pedantic. It should be... Oh, no. Never mind. Rex not pedantic. Rex likes it.
We see a lot of Zerks coming out here. I wonder if we are going to get the chat favorite, Quint Zerk, if there is enough actions. We have Quad Zerk. Can Dekar get the Quint? Let us find out.
I'd love to see a Quint Zerk. It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, Quint Zerk is normally something reserved for things like ladder matches when you're either the first or last person finishing, or casual runs, things like that. But to get to see it in the finals, if we got to see it, that would be fantastic. But given the stakes of the race, especially if Dekar doesn't have the Discord open, if he doesn't know that Pankraz has forfeited already, then you would definitely want to go a little safe here and maybe launch a Cure 4 or a Nerf. Totally understandable, absolutely viable. As much as we would love to see things like a Quint Zerk or a Kamikaze kill from Porum, those are probably things we're not going to get in this fight, and that is totally reasonable. Dekar's trying to win a tournament, y'all.
And, you know, what happened to Pankraz is, of course, unfortunate. But that's nothing to take away from how Dekar played this seed. Like, this is a really impressive run through. There was tough bosses on the moon. Getting through everything, just like the routing was really nice. Like, I think this was really well played, regardless of, you know, anything. Like, this was just really a great runner playing great free enterprise.
Absolutely. And outside of clearing the Twin Harp and the Earth Crystal and the Alt Gauntlet at the Murasame altar, this is a full clear for Dekar. It's a lot of checks in just about 90 minutes, and there's rocks. The end of the road for Survey Must is near. I believe that Dekar and his 10,000 total HP, or more than that, is going to have this one in the bag.
Here we go.
There's
the shake.
GG's to DekarSMASH. We will be joined by the administration team to let us know the outcome. So when the admins join us, we will let you know. But tentatively, DekarSMASH is our first place winner this evening with a time of 1:30.25. But again, that is all tentative. We do need to get some administrative review and ruling on this, as Pankraz did have that unfortunate emulator crash which wiped out his save files. But yeah, get your GGs out for Dekar, and hopefully we are joined by Dekar and or the admin team to give us an update. And I believe with that ringing in my ear, we do have one of our admins, Antidel, joining us. Take it away, Anti.
Yes, I am back, everyone. DekarSMASH has successfully won this race. However, he has decided to reschedule both races, reschedule tomorrow's race and re-roll this one for tomorrow. So they are tentatively currently scheduled for 7 p.m. Eastern and 9 p.m. Eastern. They will be on the Free Enterprise channel. They will be running back-to-back races on Friday in case Game 3, the real Game 3, does not result in a winner. And then currently what is scheduled as the final Game 5, should it go that long, is currently staying on for Saturday. At the time it had been originally scheduled. For members of the Restream team, we'll probably be sending out a ping for everyone just to let you know new times and whatnot. But we will get a reprise of this. We will get a Game 3, hopefully with no emulator crashes. And it is a great bit of fairness and respect for his opponent that Dekar is showing, because this was absolutely something that he could have accepted the win, and the admin team would have been fully in support of that, because that's absolutely in the rules and is as fair play as is accepting the reroll that he has done. I don't know if we are going to get an interview from him. I will check on that very quickly, but I will let you guys do some wrap up and hop back out.
All right. Well, big thanks to Annadale for giving us the scoop on exactly what's happening. So, Possum, this was a real fun fake race to call with you tonight.
No, this was a real race.
Yeah. I'm
Was
just
not
playing.
this was not fake in any manner. But yeah, this was a heck of an exhibition, I guess we can call it at this
Yeah.
point, by Dekar. We obviously have no idea how this turns out. If Pankraz doesn't have that emulator crash, but what we got to see was 90 minutes of phenomenal free enterprise from one of the best in the business. So Dekar, huge shout outs to you. Win or lose, whatever happens in the next few races, you are the champion of the people for agreeing to not take the win against an opponent as fearsome as Pankraz. So huge tip of the cap. Before we get into anything else, I just want to make sure that Dekar gets that shout out.
And I believe we are joined by DekarSMASH now. A little bit unfortunate, but it was really fun to watch you run through the seed tonight. What's your initial thoughts of the seed itself, and tell me what you want to about the situation. If you don't even want to comment on that, that's okay too.
Yeah, so I'll start with the seed. I thought, it was a fun seed. It was a seed where you actually got to go to the moon and basically full clear the lunar subterrane, and then still didn't have go mode after that. I mean, I don't know what was behind that ult gauntlet, but, other than that, I cleared the whole thing. It does feel a little bit bad that I kind of wasted my good luck on guessing right on the tower key, but them's the breaks. I've been getting a lot of good luck so far. As for the situation, I mean, it would have been really easy. Like if I had seen when the admins tried to ping me, when xPankraz had the unfortunate crash, I would have restarted in a heartbeat. But unfortunately, since I've never had anything like that happen, I wasn't really aware. I wasn't thinking of leaving my Discord visible so that I could see a ping. And I had my little scratch pad where I take notes kind of covering all of Discord, and so I didn't see that until I was just going to enter my .done when I was getting into the Z fight.
Yeah, and that's completely understandable. I know that there's a lot of runners who might even turn all notifications off or whatever in Discord. Just don't want to be distracted by anything that potentially could be happening there when you've got an important race to concentrate on too. So would never say that, for you not saying anything earlier was bad, because it's completely understandable.
Yeah. Anyway, the only thing that made it all difficult was my schedule for the next few days, really through the next week or so, is pretty tough. So rescheduling is kind of tricky. But Pankraz and I talked, and we both are cool with doing the doubleheader tomorrow. That way, I can at least try to get the tournament done one way or the other, so I can focus on the other stuff I've got going on.
Well, we'll be definitely looking forward to seeing what will be Game 3 tomorrow then. Did you have any other thoughts about tonight's, what we're now calling an exhibition?
No, I didn't. I don't have any other thoughts. I do want to apologize to everyone for sort of putting you through this fake race. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that my inattentiveness to Discord had that result. Hopefully, Pankraz and I can put on some great races tomorrow.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us, and whether or not you would have stopped, it was a pleasure to watch you run tonight.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Dekar.
And I just also want to say, as somebody who's had technical issues, it was actually Zemus Zone 2. 2 of my 3 races, my computer crashed on me, and I just didn't want to bother with trying to reschedule or anything. I just gave him the win. I will say, just my hat's off to DekarSMASH for wanting to continue and give us a proper finale, because I'm sure everybody would prefer that, and it sounds like even Dekar just didn't want to take the win that way, especially since you're up 2 games to no. You really want to make sure that that third win is real definitive. I could definitely see that.
Yeah, definitely a very admirable approach from Dekar there, not wanting to take the air quotes free win, although in his mind he didn't know anything about it until what would have been like the 85-minute mark. So what we think would have been free to him was very much so a stressful situation. I am nearly certain of that.
Absolutely.
Shout outs to Dekar for being willing and being flexible to make this happen and give us what we all love, and that is more free enterprise. So again, huge shout outs to our runners, both xPankraz and especially DekarSMASH.
Yeah, and I will say, as the admin Antidale mentioned, it would have been absolutely 100 within the rules, within his rights, if he would have taken that and just been the named champion. That would have been 100% well and good. The fact that he chose the other way is just something that is nice for us who like to see these races too, and it gives us an excuse to watch more free enterprise too. So for those reasons, I definitely want to give shout outs. Also, shout outs to our restream team today, Neobari on the restream and Dijon Ketchup, both on the tracking, both doing an excellent job. Do you have any other final thoughts before we go tonight, Possum?
No, just looking forward now to what I'm going to call races 4, 5, and 6. So everyone who wanted a race number 6 in the finals, it's not going to happen by tie, kind of. We hope that we get a lot more free enterprise action. I think that's what we're all here for. So, it was a wonderful initial 30-35 minutes from the runners, and then a great additional 60 minutes of exhibition from one of the best in the business in DekarSMASH. That's about all I got. It's been a fantastic ride with your Rex, and I always love doing this. Free Enterprise, it is the best community that is around. Make sure you join the Discord to be part of it. And if you ever want to get in on those ladder matches that have made Dekar such a fearsome opponent as well, Pankraz No Slacks 2, of course. Get in on that ladder, get in on the Free Enterprise Discord. If you want in on this thing, you absolutely can be a part of it.
All right, and with that, that's going to be the end of the race tonight. Once again, as we said, tune in tomorrow on the Free Enterprise channel for more of these final matches. And I hope everybody has a great night.